Hello and welcome back to the IVF Daddies podcast. Today I have a very special guest, my wonderful friend Romain. Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour.
We're not doing it in French. My French is not that good. We're going to do this in English, but You are from La Belle France.
Oui, I'm French, and yeah, I'm from France. Clermont-Ferrand, exactement.
But you are recently an American.
Yes, so I moved to the United States like 10 years ago now, and since 1 year I'm American.
Congratulations.
I have my passport. Thank you.
Which means you can vote.
Yes. Not talking politics here, but yes, I will.
Not talking politics, but we're going to. Kamala all the way. Please. We literally did a podcast the other day.
Oh, okay.
And we were talking about it. And then I was like, just vote Kamala Harris.
Yes, please. Not the orange guy. Please, no.
But then they demonetized us. They cut our rankings because we were endorsing a political candidate.
Oh, bad Spotify.
Bad Spotify. Anyway.
No, maybe we cannot say that.
They will demotivate us even more. Anyway, congratulations. So you will be voting. That's your first time as an American citizen. I'm thrilled about that. So the reason we have you on the podcast today is there are two reasons. One is we have a lot of similarities in our life. We're both parents. We both are divorced. We both have new parents involved with the raising of our children. So I'd like to touch on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But also I want to understand more about the French way of being a dad through surrogacy, because we have a lot of listeners in France who listen. Obviously, this is in English, but they are interested to know more about the system, how it works, some of the challenges, and also some of the fun stuff too. So tell me a little bit about Elliot, your little boy, how he came about, how that all worked, and then we can continue from there.
Of course. So Elliot is 9 years old now. I had him with my ex-husband, Alex, who is a friend now, but Back then we were living in France, in Paris. And we went through surrogacy. We were surrogate in California. So from Europe, we were needed to have help from United States. So it's also my first contact with the United States, to know, what is this country and discover the country. And because life is like that, I divorced Alex, and now I have a new husband, which is Junior, and we live together in Las Vegas.
His name's Junior. He's not Junior. He's younger than you or older than you?
He's younger than me.
Oh.
Okay, only 4 years. Oh. And my ex-husband is 10 years older, so I upgrade myself on that.
So the similarities, Joan, and they're mine too. Mine is older and Julio's younger.
So you understand.
I say 4 years, but he's a little bit more.
Okay. It's a lot of 4. When they're younger.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Elliot was born in the States.
Yes. He's born in California when we tried to explore the way to create our family from France, in France, and it's still the case. There is not a lot of option. You have adoption, but it's years and paperwork, so very complicated. So the only way it's surrogacy or to find a friend in France who can carry a baby for you. But even that, it's very complicated. And this friend will be the mother forever. So the only way to have a kid who have the two daddies, it's to go in the United States or in a country where surrogacy is possible. We decided 10 years ago now, because it's not like that. He's 9, but it was a lot of work and research before to say, okay, let's go. So 10 years ago or so, we decided to explore the way to have our kid through surrogacy in the United States. And we realized there is no information. And even now, there is not a lot of information, but back then it was a secret thing. Under the prohibition, when you were not able to have alcohol or stuff like that, it was, oh my gosh, don't talk about that. Voldemort style.
So don't mention his name.
Exactly. So we had friends. Hopefully my ex-husband was working for TV channel. So I will say a circle where there is more people educated and maybe more gay people also. And we had a friend who was working the same company as my ex-husband who had his family through surrogacy. So I remember that very exactly. Their daughter was 3 years old and we had a dinner at their place and they explained everything to us. This is how we learn everything about surrogacy.
Which is amazing when you have that first-hand information. There's no bias. It's like
exactly
the whole story, good, bad, ugly, giving you that information so you can then take those steps, which is the reason of this podcast is exactly that. Is we're going to tell you as it is what you need to be doing.
But it was also it was very subjective. Their story, when in your podcast, you have hours of explanation about everything. So what we did exactly as them. We went in California because we were thinking there is only California who allows surrogacy. We picked the same agency as them. We picked the same clinic as them, the same lawyer as them. Exactly the same, thinking there is only one way to do it. And we were very happy with it. So I remember then we went to the United States just to meet with this agency. So we started with the agency, which was, I don't know if you care, but an agency named CSP, still existing. And we went to LA in this old office. And we met with all these people. We are talking about surrogacy as is something you can do every day, normal. When from France, we were like, oh my gosh, we have to hide ourselves. It was not the same world. We were like, oh my gosh, that is possible. And that was important for us because we realized it's possible. It's not a scam. We can do it here.
So I was about to say, did that make you feel good? Did it make you feel more comfortable? What were you feeling at that time?
I think for me, because I'm more like cerebral, I need to understand things before to do it. I was like, okay, this is something clear for me, so I can do it now. I understand exactly how it works. And also, it's a big agency, so we were reassured that they didn't have only one case, which was maybe the case of our friend in France. No, they have 100 of babies. So I was needed that also to validate the fact that we can do a surrogacy journey. But then they told us you need a clinic and you need a lawyer, and it was a lot of information, and we were like, oh my gosh, we have to work on it now. There is nobody who took our hand saying, okay, now it's the first stop, the second stop, the third stop. So my ex-husband was completely bilingual. Me, I was like saying, hello, how are you? And that's it. I was not speaking any English back then because I'm French and nobody speaks English, or very bad. I'm not saying I'm
your English believe me, your English is a lot better than my French.
Ah oui, parce qu'on peut faire ça si on peut faire français.
Oui, si tu veux. Hein. Mais le problème, c'est que this is an English podcast. Or maybe we need to do IVF Papa.
So yeah, so he took the lead and he said, okay, we do that. We will meet with a clinic, which was Pacific Fertility in Los Angeles. We met with Dr. Zach and by Zoom, by Skype. Zoom was not existing.
I'm like by Skype, no, like Zoom. Like...
Yeah, Zoom, it's COVID thing. So 10 years ago, it was by Skype in France, so in Paris. And then we went, it was during the summer to start our collection, all the testing we need. And it's when thing begin real. We took a little bit of time to find our egg donor. In our surrogacy journey, this egg donor part was the worst because we were not able to find donor, or she said, I don't want to be a donor anymore. Or we did some testing and some testing was, so I think we went through 5 donors before to find one.
Oh my gosh.
And then, oh my gosh, we had embryo. We found our surrogate, amazing surrogate next to Sacramento. And she was pregnant the first try. And we had our baby. It's like, it took so long for me in my head. It was so slow at the beginning. And after, oh my gosh, she was pregnant and everything was coming. And Elliot arrived in February. Yeah.
Wow. I think there's almost a point when you think it's never going to happen because there's kind of setback. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, here we are. We're now pregnant. What's going on? Boom.
And I think also as soon you have your donor and you have your surrogate, all the other things, which is the legal part and stuff like that, it's making sense because you have everybody set up in front of you.
Right.
So you know exactly why you need a lawyer, why you need to do that. Before it's very, oh my gosh, okay, you ask me to have all that stuff, but for what? I don't understand. Then when you have your surrogate, making a lot of sense. And actually, I even don't remember that much being a headache for the legal part because everything is well done in the United States.
It's also pretty standardized, right? So for me, they're very similar. It's almost the building blocks, getting the building blocks in place was the bit. You're like, I don't know what I don't know. So how am I supposed to know what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, oh Christ, we're pregnant.
And also, because we're talking about the French mind, we don't have fertility clinic in France. Now we have some because they open like IVF for lesbian, but back then, no. So you even don't know what is a fertility clinic. Like you don't understand why you need a doctor and an agency and why it's not the same person. Like it's important also, and it's why I'm glad to do that. And I hope some French people can understand English, will understand that you have to put away your French mind to go in something cannot exist in their country because unfortunately it's illegal, and build from the beginning a new system in your head. Even with insurance, legal, we don't have, I think it's the same thing in UK, but you don't have all these lawyers for anything. Like here you crash with your car, you need to call your lawyer right away. In France, in Europe, you don't do that. You call your insurance maybe. And so it's a set of mind, and you have to understand that when you start the surrogacy journey, is to put away all your thinking from Europe to go in another system, which is USA.
I've never thought about it that way. That's actually really, you need to turn off the European chip almost and just think, okay, I'm going to be an American for this process.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I think the worst is for insurance.
Yeah.
Because we have the healthcare in Europe, which is very easy. So States, here, there is no, you even don't know if you have an insurance. You don't know what the insurance cover. So yeah, it's a lot, but it's also interesting. And you are doing that to create your family, which is the most important for you. Yeah. So you are able to do this effort because of the finality is to have a family.
Yeah. And so you then end up with Elliot, who's super cute and adorable. He's now 9. So then fast forward a couple of years, you and Alex split up.
Yeah.
And then Junior.
Exactly. Hits. So it's not easy to have a kid. And I think maybe the fact that we were also living between two countries, a little bit of in United States and a little bit in France, it made our life a little bit more complicated. And me, after we had Elliot, I was 100% on Elliot. Like I was not working that much because this is what I was wanted also, if I have a kid, is to take care of him. And so it separated a little bit me from Alex, and we decided to divorce. And I will say that we divorced, but we were still married when I met Junior. So it was like a back-to-back transition. So there is 3 different stories here, mine, Junior, and Alex, and I'm not explaining all the stories.
We're going to go with the back-to-back transition.
But I will say I was not very like single at any time. When I met Junior, I knew it means also it's done with Alex. So I very fast introduced Junior to Alex. And I also asked Alex, do you think he will be a good stepdad for Elliot? Because I was seeing myself for a long time with Junior. And that was very important for me that Alex is okay, because I don't want to build something if Alex is saying, no, he's bad stepdad, or I don't think so, or you have to be careful, or I don't want to have Elliot around him for now. Build this family together. So even if we are divorced now, we have shared custody, like it's still our son and forever. So it's better if it's continuing.
Great. And that's with any family that gets divorced, right? I think there's this concept that once you're divorced, you're separated finally, there's no contact, you're done. But the reality is when you have a child and you are divorced, your ex is with you forever. You are inextricably linked to that person, like it or not. And so you have to make it work.
And my ex-husband liked to say, we didn't success in our wedding, but we success in our divorce, which I think is a good conclusion to that. Also, he's a celebrity in France, so he had to take care of all these tabloids saying bad thing about him, saying that's the bottom of anything, his life is ruined, blah, blah, blah. And even because, I can explain that because it's funny, in one of the tabloids, they said, Romain left him for the gardener because she knew and they were referring to Desperate Housewives when Gabrielle Solis is going with the gardener. So that we are laughing about that, but imagine for Alex,
that must be tough, right?
It was not that funny. Now we are laughing about it, but it was not fun. So I would say maybe we had 1 years of complication or like complicated relationship. But after that, everything was great. And today we bought 2 houses in Las Vegas in front of each other like that. Elliot can be with Papa Romain and Junior or with Papa Alex. And that is, I think, amazing for Elliot because, and as you were mentioning, all the houses are the same. So we have exactly the same house. It's the same. And he has the same room in one house and the other one house.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. And by the way, it's a bad gardener because our backyard is, we have a gardener. It's nice because we have a gardener.
The gardener is nice. Junior does a great job of mowing the lawn and tending to the flowers. As we like to say, if you don't water your flowers, they're never going to flourish. Anyway, so I think a couple of things there is what I love is the fact that you and Alex have decided to put Elliot first. And this is in my case as well, the children always come first with whatever decision you're making, because I think in my life, there are many different things that I didn't want my children to think were normal. And I wanted them to grow up seeing how a relationship could be versus how a relationship was. And I think that's really can be challenging. And especially with Alex being in the public eye and a lot of people throwing around rumors, right? I know we're joking about Junior being the gardener, we're joking about that, but that's got to hurt, really hurt. And I think for both of you to be able to step up and go, we're going to ignore that and put Elliot's needs first, that's really important.
And I think it's helping also that Elliot is here in Las Vegas and he's going to school here. So nobody know him. Nobody know Alex. I think will be very different if he was in France because he could have that. Oh, your dad is Alex and blah, 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 blah. So we are safe here.
Yeah.
This is what.
And I think it's wonderful that you are here doing that and raising Elliot in a fashion which it's normal, right? Do you ever get to the point where you think if we were in France, he would be very different in his lifestyle? We would have been different in our lifestyle because we would have had to be role models. We're in the tabloids. We are almost the poster children for having a gay family. How does that work for you?
In France, you are lucky if you are 2 dads with kids, if you live in Paris, I would say, or big cities. But then when you're in small cities, at school, in the village, stuff like that, you can say, oh my gosh, it's the 2 dads. It's the gays. I don't know. So I think we are lucky here in Las Vegas. But maybe if you go in Nebraska, or I don't know where in the United States, it's not the same way. So I think it's the same thing everywhere. In the big cities, it's great. You don't have like people who are watching at you or pointing with a finger saying, oh my gosh, the 2 dads with the kids. And then the kid at school can have some remarks or that stuff. And that is the same in France, in Italy, Spain, UK, and in the United States. So I think we are lucky to be in Las Vegas. We will be lucky to be in Paris. But if it was in my countryside where I'm from, the middle of the volcano, it will be very different.
And do you find that, obviously now that you've separated and you have the joint custody, that you and Junior are able to go and do all the things that you would have been doing, say, without a child? Because you give Elliot to your ex, or if obviously again
that is maybe the good thing about being divorced. It's like that you can share the custody and you can have 1 week of family, being parent, and 1 week of you can travel with your husband. So I will say that is a good point. I don't know if you already had that in your podcast, like about divorce. But maybe the good point of being divorced with kids. No, that is great because we can share our time. And it's even Alex is still living between Las Vegas and France. So hopefully he has that too, because if not, he will have to stay here in Las Vegas and never go in France. So we make it work. Usually it's 10 days, just us with Junior and Elliot, and 10 days when Papa Alex is here. And for example, he's here right now. It's why I'm here. And tonight he's sleeping at Papa Alex's place, so it's great.
So we can go for drinks?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, we can. No.
So we're not advocating for divorce, but we're saying there are upsides to having split custody with your child.
What about you, actually?
Same. It's slightly different because we also have joint custody. So my ex has them for half the time and I have them for half the time. But yeah, there are times when I don't have the children. I can come here to America. I can work. I can travel. I feel that the responsibility that I have when I'm around the children is lifted, because there are many times, I guess, similar to you, when we had the children, I stopped work. So I became the stay-at-home parent and then started working again and go, okay, now it's Julio and I, or it's work and I, and that part I can compartmentalize and put it to one side. Doesn't mean I don't think about them, doesn't mean I don't talk to them, but it means that for me, the divorce has worked really well on many different levels.
But no, and you can say they are safe.
There is somebody I know who has them as their number one priority. Yeah, absolutely. But it's very interesting you say that, because there are times when, for example, my ex is working or I'm traveling and Julio's had to look after the children. And so there's now this dynamic of three parents, and I feel equally safe leaving them with Julio as I do with my ex. And I think that gives me a level of comfort that works for me. Do you find that as well, or how does it work?
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's even three different character people. I know Elliot will always say that Junior is a strict one, and with Papa Alex, he can do whatever he wants and play video game. And me is like always, yeah, you are asking me about school, what I'm doing. I like him to talk to me and express his feeling and everything. So it's three different people.
Oh my God, we have the same.
But it's maybe the same in all the
couples. Oh my gosh, we have the same. The difference being I'm the strict one. Julio's the one that sits there and talks and talks and talks and talks, and then talks more about the talking, and then more about the talking that somebody was talking about. It's wow, the parallels are
so,
just wow.
It's maybe like that in all the family livers. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? So then what I do want to touch about a little bit about is the French system and the recognition of parentage and how that all works, because I think that's quite something that a lot of people didn't even consider. Talk to me a bit about that if you can.
Yeah, so what we're explaining here can change in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years. So don't take what I'm saying as the way it's done now and forever, because it's very political. It's always political in Europe, I think. So today, when you have a child through surrogacy in France, you have two options. First option is to retranscribe the birth certificate with one dad, and the other dad can adopt. The other way, because you are doing surrogacy in a country or in countries who will give a judgment of parentality, what we call in French filiation, but filiation, I don't know. You are able to take this judgment from the country, go to a judge in France and say, okay, I have a judgment. I want to apply this judgment in France. And like that, you are officially two dads on the birth certificate, or a mom and a dad or whatever. So there is this two way. But that is new, because when we had Elliot, we came back in France and he was not able to be French, because our system in France is back from Napoleon, and two dads, it's seen as a program, informatic program, and it's like a bug. It's not possible. Like two dads, no way.
The computer says no.
Error, I don't know what. So we were able to have a proof of French, which is, I don't know if it's everywhere in Europe, these things, but showing that one of the parents on a birth certificate in a foreign country is French, then you can have a little paper saying, this kid might be French too. And with that, you can have some healthcare and stuff like that. Now it's better, but it's not easy. But I will say that for 6 months during COVID, the machine had a bug again, and we were able to retranscribe all the birth certificates in the French system. So through COVID, like 100 of people who had baby through surrogacy were able to do that. And I did that. We started adoption and then we divorced. Like everything is made
through all
as
the paperwork.
you are a man and a woman and you have a baby and you are married, and if you have to live this way, which again it's very Napoleon or Louis XIV, then oh my gosh, they're like, oh, what can we do here? So hopefully they change the thing, but it's still like very archaic. I don't know if you say that in English, but hey, oh my gosh, why in 2024, guys? Can you adapt? We have a lot of different families in the world. And even if you are like American, completely legal, and you come to live in the United States, completely legal with your families, I don't know how the States is seeing you. Are you considered as a family or no? So very interesting question, I think. Sorry for UK, but that has to be something more with the European Union because they are more liberal on this question. France is being fined every year because they are not doing what the Europe is asking, which is child first, and you have to make sure the child can have parents.
So the European Union is fining France because they're not putting the children first.
Yes, but that is also very political, and we are seeing that in Europe changing, like the right is coming back everywhere. Yeah. So it can change, and unfortunately, there is no solution on that.
But at that time, to have a child, to both being French, and to have your child not being able to be recognized as French, how did that feel?
It's sad. We thought about that before to start. Like, we didn't discover, oh my gosh, now we can have paperwork. So we were knowing that at the end of the day, if he cannot be French, we can go to the European Union Court, because some people did that and won at the end. But it was a 5-year process. So hopefully things change during this process. So we were able to do differently. But yeah, I don't know, but kids who are born through surrogacy and they are 15 years old today in France, parents were like having illegal kids at home, like immigrants.
Right.
Which that is very scary.
Scary and sad.
Yeah.
So did Alex's celebrity status help raise visibility to this, or did it?
I think it was the opposite, because we did some cover in magazine, and instead to have a lot of people saying, oh, it's great, let's work on that, it was more like, you are ashamed what you did, it's horrible. And even now, again, on Twitter, for example, each time I'm posting or is posting something about our family, it's crazy people, crazy trolls saying, oh my gosh, we should take your kid. It's horrible. It's better to don't read Twitter. And nobody did anything among the political parties in France. Nobody is offering a solution to that because it's too touchy. You will please maybe few 100,000 of people, but you will have all this crazy powerful lobby, which is a Catholic lobby, the feminist lobby, the conservative, they don't know about that, but they will be against that lobby. Yeah. All these people. So at the end of the day, it's a too hot topic to put that on the table saying, now, okay, we will fix the issue.
So it's almost a vote loser for the politicians. Exactly. And they might, wow. The good thing is you're here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful young boy.
Yeah.
And you have a great gardener.
Yeah. I married him. So great that I married him. But no, and I don't want to, I don't want to discourage people from Europe or France. It's possible. Nobody will take your kid in France. You are protected, but it's a fight. And we have to fight for that, for our rights. It's sad, but it's
But we've been fighting for our rights forever, right? As gay people, as LGBTQI+, everybody has been fighting, and we're advocating for ourselves, because to your point, if only politicians would advocate for us and not advocate for their own votes, that would be amazing. Mm-hmm. But so we have to stand up, or we have to be counted. Yeah. And I think what you're doing is amazing. And I think that your story has been, for me, it's been very inspirational. To a lot of the French people I know has been very inspirational. And I think you're amazing. And I love your gardener too. He's great.
Thank you, Richard.
So thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you so much. It was nice to talk to you.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we can get Junior on to talk to Julio about what it's like to join a family as the third parent. And I think, let us know in the DMs if you think that would be an interesting one to listen to, as almost we've had our ready-made families and then they've joined us, and I think that brings a whole host of challenges.
Of course.
Especially as he's the strict one.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming.
You.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Très gentil. And we'll talk to you very soon.